How lucky are you? Let's find out what's going on in the world of transfers, because my talkSPORT colleague Alex Crook joins us live this lunchtime. Alex, hi to you, my friend. What's going on? I take it Manchester United tops the bill, does it?
It could fill the whole bulletin, I think, Jim, to be honest. 2 weeks tomorrow, the transfer window closes. You and I will be on air when the final knockings, if you like, I think 10 to 11, we're taking over the sports bar. Looking forward to that. You wonder how many players Manchester United will have recruited by then. New names emerging all the time. Christian Pulisic, the latest name in the frame, a possible loan move from Chelsea. I'm not sure that will appease Manchester United fans given his injury record, but he's somebody.
What, Pulisic on loan to United? Yeah,
that's the latest news that has emerged in the last hour or so. I think Chelsea are up for letting the USA international leave. I think it might be dependent on them strengthening at the top end of the pitch, but again, it just doesn't look like a progressive type of signing for Manchester United. They're in the hunt for a new right back as well. Serginho Dest Barcelona is somebody I know they are actively pursuing. That would see Aaron Wan-Bissaka, £50 million. Aaron Wan-Bissaka allowed to leave. I think Crystal Palace are very interested in taking him back on loan. Goalkeeper-wise, they want backup for David De Gea. Jan Sommer, the experienced Swiss international, is the latest name in the frame there. And then what about in central midfield? Because we learnt last night, no chance now of signing Rabiot. His wage demands too high. You'd have thought Manchester United might have done their diligence on that before even making a bid to Juventus. That's how most clubs do their business. Casemiro is on their list, although they're yet to make contact, as I understand it, with Real Madrid. And what about Moises Caicedo? Very impressive on the opening day at Old Trafford in Brighton's 2-1 win. This is a player United could have signed 2 years ago for £4.5 million. They passed up the opportunity, and I'm told Brighton have no interest in selling Caicedo.
I mean, Alex, it sounds all very scattergun, doesn't it, Danny? You know, one moment we hear about Arnautovic, now we're hearing about Pulisic. Casemiro's name's thrown in there. Rabiot's maybe not coming because he's too expensive.
Well, you know, the irony is Casemiro, for example, is so unlike De Jong in the way he plays. He's a destructive stopper. He gets his foot in, he fills gaps. He's a firefighter. He can play a bit, but De Jong's a footballer. He's not got the same tenacity. So they're not just going for a different player. They're going for a completely different type.
Right.
I think that's nonsense. I don't believe that for a second. They're going to go after a midfielder from Brighton because he played well at Old Trafford last week? Come on.
Well, I think he was on their list, in fairness, a couple of years ago. But the fact is they decided not to pay £4.5 million. Now they probably have to pay £60 million because I know Brighton rate him really highly. And I guess that just...
But he wasn't on the list the week before they played Brighton, was he?
He was on their long-term list, yeah.
No, but he hasn't been talked about for 2 years. And I've not heard him on any list up until they played Brighton, and now after they've played Brighton, it's nonsense. It's bizarre.
I think United fans, Alex, just want one over the line, one that will impress them. Is that not the point here?
It is, and I don't believe Christian Pulisic is that man, really, because he's a decent enough player. I don't think he's a world beater. Certainly hasn't pulled up any trees at Chelsea, and he has a very suspect injury record. And United want to be competing with the likes of Chelsea, at least for a top four finish. If Pulisic isn't good enough for Chelsea, why would he be good enough for Manchester United?
Yeah, that's the point, Simon, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a point I often make that when you're selling a player to your rivals, it's because ultimately you don't think that player's going to make a great deal of difference when he lands at your rivals. But of course, it's horses for courses. Some people go and do better things playing for different clubs. I still maintain that despite this chaos, because we are painting a narrative, and it may well be right to do so, that the Manchester United transfer policy is chaos, and it's
or scattergun.
Everyone's watching a situation while Rome burns. I still think that United will come out of this transfer window with a sizable expenditure and a group of players. Now, whether those group of players are good enough, I don't think they'll end up with nothing, because otherwise I just think they're going to make themselves look completely and utterly absurd.
Do you know, the other thing is, if they do buy players, unless they're superb players, but it's somewhat irrelevant if the philosophy is we're going to go out and outplay everybody, play out from the back and play 5 attacking players every time we go on the pitch. They're not going to do anything.
Sure.
The philosophy, doesn't matter who you play and who you buy, if they're going to try and play the way they're playing it, they have got to become more pragmatic very, very quickly.
Well, he'll have learned that lesson on Saturday.
Let's go to the northeast, Alex. Our understanding, Newcastle doing some business this lunchtime.
Yeah, they're after João Pedro. They had one bid rejected of around about £20 million last week. They are readying a second offer. I think their ceiling for this is around about £25 million, which may not be enough to persuade Watford to sell him. I think he was the one of the three players. Emmanuel Dennis has already joined Nottingham Forest. Ismaila Sarr attracting interest from Simon's old club, Crystal Palace. I think João Pedro of the trio was the one they really wanted to keep hold of this season to give Rob Edwards the best possible chance of getting Watford back into the Premier League. I don't see Newcastle going to £35 million, so I guess it will come down to Watford's staying power, and if they can really turn down an offer of £25 million.
You like the boy, Danny? The player?
He's talented, yeah. A little bit inconsistent, but potentially good in a good team. Yeah, he could do good things.
Here's another talented lad, Alex. Simon, you and I have spoken about him before. Ben Brereton Diaz, Blackburn Rovers. Is he going to be out of there this window?
I think this is certainly one to keep a close eye on between now and September the 1st. The first bid has gone in. Nice over in France. I was told last night that was €10 million up front, rising to €15 million with add-ons. I think they want a guaranteed 15 million Blackburn, but it's a risky strategy because he is out of contract at the end of the season when, of course, he would be available on a free transfer. And actually, he could effectively sign a pre-contract agreement with Nice in January. There are Premier League clubs circling as well, the likes of Everton. I know West Ham took a look earlier in the window, maybe Bournemouth as well. This is a guy who scored a lot of goals in the Championship last season, could play as a central striker, could play coming in from the left-hand side as well. I think he'll probably leave Blackburn between now and the end of this window, which is bad news for John Dale Thomason because they've had such a positive start in the Championship. And
top of the
Diaz
table.
is very much part of that.
Any Arsenal news for us, Alex? Number of fans asking.
Yeah, I think they're looking to try and clear the decks because, in fairness to the Arsenal owners, I mean, it wasn't that long ago, actually, that they were getting the level of stick that the Manchester United owners are getting, and they pulled out the stops the last two transfer windows for Mikel Arteta. So maybe that buys into Simon Jordan's narrative that come the end of the window, maybe United fans might look upon it more favourably. Don't see it at this stage. One player who just hasn't worked out for Arsenal, big money flop, Nicola Pepe, £72 million. They paid for him, clearly not part of the furniture anymore. And actually, Nice are looking at him as well as Brereton Diaz with the possible loan move with an option to buy. But Arsenal aren't going to get anywhere near back the 70-odd million they paid, are they?
Okay. Actually, Simon, I do remember both of us had our eyebrows raised about the price they paid for Pepe. 72 million quid.
Well, I think a lot to do with that was how they could pay for him.
Yeah, it was lots of instalments,
They
wasn't
were
it?
in the market for Wilfried Zaha at one point when they in Palace priced him out. And so they could get this boy for 72 million quid and pay it on the drip. And so they have. And he's been a drip. And that's why
He hasn't been. Do you know what? You know what? You have to look past this. Just on Pepe, I quite like him. He's a talented player, right? But his first two seasons were all right. His second season, when he became a bit more settled, he got 16 goals in 47 games, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot more than a lot of players who we say are good players in the Premier. 16 goals in 47 games is not bad. The season after it fell away probably because of Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe coming through and taking his place.
But Danny, 72 million, you're expecting him to pull up trees for that.
Yeah, but
Big
you've
time.
got to be given a platform to play regularly.
He's pulling up the same trees that Jadon Sancho's pulling up at Man United with the same sort of money cost. Yeah.
Well, at least he's had one season where he shows he's capable.
So, I mean, what's the possibility this lunchtime, Alex? Let's finish on this of Ismaila Sarr ending up at Simon's old club Palace.
I think they look the favourites at this moment in time. Again, I think it will come down to how much they're willing to pay. And is this maybe the beginning of the end for Wilf Zaha? Because we know his contract is up at the end of the season. Definitely quiet in terms of signing a new deal. I mentioned, I think, earlier this window that Chelsea are keeping tabs on him. If they were to get Ismaila Sarr, is that almost the heir apparent to Wilfried Zaha, do we think?
Simon, you're shaking your head in disbelief almost.
No, not really. I mean, I think Wilfried's had a very good time at Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace have had a very good time with Wilfried. Everything comes to an end.
They've got a lot of talented wide played forward players now, haven't they? In Eze
and Eze was
Lise.
the player that was bought to assume the mantle. And Wilfried's done very well for Crystal Palace and done very well out of Crystal Palace.
Alex, a final line from you. Do you think at the end of all of this, as Simon suggests, United fans will be happy enough with the business done in this window?
No, I really don't, Jim. To be honest, I wish I shared Simon's optimism. I think this has been Manchester United's worst ever transfer window.
I didn't say that.
There've been some contenders.
What did you say?
I said that they will get some bodies in the building. This current dearth of signings will be. I think there will be a rush to sign players. Whether they get the right ones, I don't think they'll not get anyone. I think they'll get some significant names.
But everybody's capable of getting somebody. You've got to get the right one.
Crookie,
yeah.
can I just ask Crookie a quick one? Do you think Martinez is going to end up having to play holding midfielder?
Well, I think he's struggling as a Premier League central defender at the moment, and mainly for the reasons that Rio Ferdinand identified when he was first signed. That lack of height that you can get away with in the Dutch division. His aerial statistics were quite good. I think he's being exposed, and it's not just being exposed by tall, powerful strikers. It's being exposed by people like Danny Welbeck, who absolutely bullied him on the opening weekend of the season. I wonder if we might even see him at left back because I'm not convinced that Ten Hag has a lot of faith in Luke Shaw. So it's a problem area. But do you know what? Someone said to me earlier, they should have spent the money they spent on Martinez. They should have just put it down for Anthony. He was a player that Erik Ten Hag really wanted to bring in from Ajax. They were never going to get both. And you wonder if maybe they've missed a trick there and that Anthony would have added more to the team than Martinez has so far.
Okay,
Early
Alex.
days, obviously.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.